All right, Nick, let's talk about the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Matt Rule once again making a different kind of recruiting, not high school, but transfer portal recruiting, getting a really big time guy out of the portal. I think this is going to be huge for the Cornhuskers going forward. But before we get into that, I'm Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, Matt Rule, the Nebraska Cornhuskers, getting a big time transfer out of the transfer portal. I think probably one of the bigger guys that you could have got. Let's jump right on into the tweet and we can talk more about it on the other side. This is, of course, from over on X at Hayes Fawcett, breaking all of the great news, not just recruiting, but transfer portal news as well. Go give him a look. It says, breaking Missouri true freshman transfer edge Williams Nwaneri has committed to Nebraska, he tells On3 Sports. The 6'6", 265-pound edge will have all 4 years of eligibility remaining. He was ranked as a 5-star plus recruit in 2024. He was the number 1 edge player that season. I think this is huge for Nebraska, especially defensively. We hope offensively with Dylan Raiola, they get things figured out. That offense gets moving forward with a little bit more time under the belt of the system. But defensively, Matt Rule getting a big-time potential playmaker who could develop. This is a guy who has 4 years of eligibility remaining. I think this is absolutely massive for Nebraska. Nick, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. But before we get to you, Nebraska fans, in the comment section below, we're talking transfer portal, a big-time move here. But I want to know, looking at the transfer portal, where else do you think this team could be filled out with some nice veteran transfer portal additions? And are there any guys that you're eyeing as well? Let us know how you would fill out this roster through the transfer portal in the comment section below. But nonetheless, Nick, what do you think about this latest move by the Cornhuskers?
So it's obviously a huge addition. Of course, this is a very talented prospect, but it's also on brand and consistent with Rule's messaging. That's what's really important. He's obviously been very vocal about the fact he's going to build a developmental program in Nebraska. And one of the concerns, obviously, heading into a big, I don't want to say make or break year in 2025, it certainly feels that way, however, is that Matt Rule would be like, okay, I got to be hyper aggressive. We've got to upgrade our roster on paper today. And maybe he kind of then dives into a little inconsistencies. He starts using the transfer portal to just fill holes on the roster. And he has guys that he's developing that are going to be key starters and players in 2025. And he buries them on the depth chart with a bunch of transfers from, other programs from, Utah, Florida State, whatever, right? Coming in to supplant a lot of these guys he's been developing. He'd probably lose the locker room in that case. He'd lose the belief of this team. His messaging would fall flat. Things would go south quickly. That is my big concern with Nebraska this transfer portal season. This move is the opposite, though. It's 100% on brand because this kid is literally the definition of a developmental prospect. Elite talent, checks every box. I mean, looks like a potential first-round pick in the National Football League with all his physical tool sets. He just needs to develop. I think this is just a 100% perfect move for Nebraska. Not only do they get a 5-star quality guy to come into their program, always love to have those. He's going to come in and he's going to have to be a developmental guy. He's not going to be a guy who's going to come in day one and be, handed the starting job first string. He's going to have to go in there, beat people out, learn the defense, learn how to use his hands and feet combined together a little bit better, get more familiar with the college game. He has to do all of that just like every single other Nebraska player has to. And I think that's going to prove Matt Rule in terms of his situation with the locker room. They're not going to lose the faith in that, okay, this is a developmental program. This is a merit-based program. People in this building, if they work hard, if they learn the scheme and put in the time, they'll get quality playing time. The addition of this kid won't change that at all. Again, keeps the message consistent, keeps the brand focused on we're going to be a program about developing and rising through the ranks and being meritocratic. And I think that's what Matt Rule is tooling everything towards the 2025 season. He says, listen, we got to get better. We got to win more games. It's time to win more games, but we're going to stick with the formula. We're all about growing. We're all about focusing on getting better. And I think this latest move is 100% on brand with that. Again, there's always the risk, the temptation. We got to get better at a bunch of different positions, right? Do we go out and find, another wide receiver or another DB or whatever and bury some developmental guys on the depth chart? Lose the locker room. Rule so far avoids the temptation and adds a quality player as well. Fantastic move by Nebraska here.
Yeah, Nick, and I think especially if you look at it from a little bit different perspective, young transfer portal players might see that as enticing as well, saying, "Hey, I got a lot of time left. My first school didn't necessarily work out for me. I'm going to go to Nebraska and I can work my way up the roster, even though I wasn't recruited. If I am able to transfer over there, like you said, that meritocratic kind of distinction is really good for Rule for these young guys. And I think it can be very, very attractive for them. And I think that's the case here because you look at what Nwaneri did coming out. He came into the portal with a do not contact designation, meaning he already knew exactly where he was going. He just said, don't even bother talking to me or trying to get me to come to your school. I know where I'm going. Obviously, Nebraska recruited one of their former staff or current staffers, Jamar Mosey's son, Isaiah Mosey, who Nwaneri played with in high school. So there's that connection there as well. But for Rule to make this program be as enticing it is, having young, super talented players, a former 5-star coming out of high school, absolutely athletically gifted, saying, hey, I don't even want to consider the other options. I'm going to head over to Nebraska, hang out with Matt Rule and co, and see if I can work my way up this roster. I think this shows a good sign to especially young players in the transfer portal as well, that this is the program to be, because it doesn't matter who you are. You can come in here if you work your butt off and do the right stuff and show that you have the talent, you can make it on this roster and earn yourself some playing time. So again, Matt Rule doing all the right things, and we're starting to see it pay off in the transfer portal.
Yeah, we're seeing these kids as well, and this is a great example of that understanding in the new era what they need to do to become quality players at the college level and NFL prospects. This is an example. This guy obviously understands he needs to develop, he needs to get better. He knows Matt Rule, Nebraska is a developmental program, so he's like, okay, I want to go there. That's where I need to go to hone my skills, become the player I need to be. So it's kind of one of those feedback loop deals. Matt Rule hyper focused on being a developmental guy. What does that mean? It means other players that are looking to be developed want to go to Nebraska. Players see that happen. Then more players that want to go develop want to go to Nebraska, whether they be high school kids or young transfers, like you said. More and more momentum behind Nebraska's program, all part of Matt Rule's rebuilding strategy, and it should result in big time dividends for 2025 and beyond.